of the Addicted Social Media Podcast. I'm Neil Weiser.
I'm Seth Goldstein.
And today, unfortunately, we don't have Jody Raines on board. Jody was doing her best to imitate Evil Knievel, and I think she was trying to jump over some school buses or something on her motorcycle and had a little bump up. She's fine. She'll be back hopefully next week. But we do have a special guest filling in for Jody. Ashley, would you like to introduce yourself?
I think you just did, Ashley. Hi. There's not much to say other than that.
All right.
So some of you may recognize Ashley from our last episode where she was a special on-screen guest, kind of off to the side a little bit, but that's okay. She's back with us today, and we're going to have a good show.
Yep. All right. So let's get started.
Okay, rock and roll. So, of course, since we are so enamored with Google these days, why don't we just kind of kick off the topics with some more talk about Google and some new features that Google has released to the public.
Yeah. So Google now lets Google Plus now lets you ignore people.
Cool. Wait, let me try it.
No. So
and Seth drops off the screen.
Right.
So apparently, what Google Plus does now is that Google Plus, instead, there's now two ways of disassociating yourself on Google. Blocking, which will turn you off, so you can't go into Hangouts if the person you blocked is in the Hangout, or more severe punishment for being blocked. Ignore means that they don't know, either way, no one knows that they're blocked or ignored. But ignored is a lesser form of I just don't want to see anything about this person, but I don't really want to block them because they're not really that annoying, that sort of thing.
Blocking is really an extreme action.
It is.
I think when you ignore someone, it keeps them from clogging up your stream. But since you're
Scoble.
only ignoring them, you can still go over.
I love you.
Think when
I love you,
only
Robert.
Ignore them. You can still personally go to their profile and see what you would as being their friend, so you get a chance to personally choose when you're ready to take in all that they have to say.
Now, are there different levels of ignoring people?
No, it's ignore or not ignore, or block or don't block.
Because it would be interesting if you could ignore people when they post on specific topics or something like that.
Or no animated GIFs.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God! It was one of our mutual friends went on an animated GIF binge.
Who was
the
that?
other day?
Who was
no,
that?
no, I'm not gonna name him. I'm not gonna name him on the podcast. Come on, Neil. Let's be a little PC. It was the devilish grin.
Yeah, that would be a nice feature, but it's good to know that you can just ignore. But that would be like on Facebook, like the similar to whenever they let you block just an application because you were tired of seeing all of those game notifications.
Yeah.
Like, I don't play this game. I don't want to know what you're doing in Farmville.
Yeah, you can actually mute people in Facebook too. You can go over to the right hand corner of the post and say ignore forget this person or whatever the heck it is. So you can actually do that in Facebook as well. So
yeah, but on Facebook, the problem is that there are some people who they tweet about or they post about a lot of subjects that I don't care about, but I kind of like following what they're doing and chat with them occasionally. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But because of their algorithms, though, I very rarely anymore ever see them post anything because of
you don't interact with them enough.
Because you
Yeah.
you don't like their stuff enough or pay attention to it. Yeah.
Well, it's not that. I mean, I have some very good friends there, but I just am not interested in the topics that they're talking about. But I still like to talk with them and interact with them. But
you don't like what they have to say, but you still want to be stalking them.
it's not stalking. It's just,
You want to keep up with them when you're ready to keep up with them. It's kind of like, I don't really like talking to you, but every once in a while I kind of want to call you and find out what's going on. I still want to, I hope you're okay still. I just really wouldn't choose to hang out with you on a daily basis.
Something like that.
So much better. So much better.
Well, like let me give you a quick example. I have a friend who, for some reason, is obsessed with track and field to the point where he posts hundreds of pictures. It seems sometimes, whenever there's a track meet, and it's like, okay, so you posted a picture, but it just constantly clogs up my stream, and I'm just not interested. I mean, he's a nice guy. I like him. I like chatting with him, but I just couldn't care. And I used to run track and field, but I just don't care about the stuff he's posting.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we can have more people in Google.
Yeah, and so I mean, have either of you guys had the problem when you find someone who you've met in a hangout and they talk English and they're very interesting people, so you want to follow them, but they're from a foreign country, whatever. But what they post in, they mostly post in their native tongue.
Hmm.
Well, normally that would most likely warrant a ignore, because I would feel like I should follow them back, but I wouldn't want them in my feed per se, because it just was like it was a little too much. Like I don't understand what they're saying, and I don't understand the post they're posting. But now there's a Google Chrome extension, non-native, but a Google Chrome extension that brings Google Translate into the mix and will translate these posts into your native tongue, whether it be English, Afghani, Dutch, Farsi,
Or whatever
For
other
the
language.
any
nosy
others.
in us all. Like, he's putting it
Yeah,
out to. Why should only they get to see what they have to say and be nosy in
exactly.
their life?
And yeah, and exactly. This goes back to another way because a lot of people who aren't in America, who might not speak English that much, aren't reading what Americans are posting. So it's like, but back and forth both ways. Yes, we're all U.S. centric podcasts right now. I mean, we're trying to get some more people from abroad. I mean, Anthony's not on the podcast
Well,
this week.
I wouldn't say that we're U.S. centric. We just happen to speak English, but,
Exactly, it's
mostly
English
because my
podcast.
Spanish is pretty abysmal, and
Si, senor.
although I
Exactly.
have been, it's funny that you mentioned that, especially with the ignore thing, because I actually have a circle set up under Google for doesn't speak English, and
Yeah, I have
basically,
a say what question mark.
yeah, and it's just for people who I don't speak their language. Although I have been making an effort to brush up on my Spanish for some of my Spanish-speaking friends, but
And
you know,
Yeah, Ashley. Oh,
I
we
think
lost
that's where
Ashley. Oh, there you go.
confusion comes in, because there's a lot of, there's a lot of, like, as if it's discrimination, and I don't think it's discrimination. It's I want to relate to you, but if I can't, but now that I can, then I'll be happy to relate to you, because I do want to know what you have to say, but it's kind of hard to want to focus on it when I don't know what you're saying. So it's cool because now
Especially
you
yeah.
can have people in your circles that you wouldn't have understood before, and now it's like I do care about you. Just before I didn't as much as I do now that I know what you're saying. It's a lot
Same.
easier to
Does
care
help.
about you.
Does help. But yeah, one thing there's also, I mean, with German, I can kind of figure out, oh, that's German. The problem is that I mean, Japanese, Chinese, Korean, they all look different, and generally I can tell the Korean language is different from Japanese and Chinese. But you're trying to figure out where they're coming from, so you can figure out what way to translate it. This makes it pretty much easier to do, and I mean,
we should
it,
find somebody who doesn't speak or is not, sorry. Let me rephrase this. We should find someone who speaks fluently another language, and see how well it does, and
oh,
maybe have them on the podcast.
well, here's an example
Because maybe
of
what'll
yeah.
happen is it'll be like those foreign movies where their mouth speaks,
Well, that's
but they
happening
can't
today
speak.
as it is, Neil. That's happening as it is right now with our lag. But here's something that would be interesting is, I mean, I'm setting up. We're going on a cruise in 2 weeks, so you're going to have Neil and Jody on your own. I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. So many people are cheering, saying hip hip hooray, stuff's gone for 2 weeks. But we're getting stuff, from France and Italy and Spain, for our cruise. And a lot of times their websites in a different language. Google Translate. I mean, if you read it slowly, you can kind of make some sense of it. But we have also had some pretty good laughs at its expense because it really doesn't know how to conjugate a verb or use a noun correctly. So
Oh, all your
it
base
gets a little
belongs to
wonky.
us, right?
Exactly. Worse than that, actually, Neil. Some of the stuff we're sitting there, we're like, I'll read it to Meredith because you can read it because it's English. And I'll read it, and it puts the sentences, periods in the right area. So I'll read it, and I'll stop at the very end, and I'll go like, wait, that made absolutely no sense. So, and then now they actually have a plugin in Google Translate where it lets you can move around the words to make it sound better to help
I
Google
actually
out.
saw a meme that said something like that. It said, poor English or using Google Translate.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. So anyhow, speaking about Google Translate, Google Plus, and all that, we're very much Google fanboys here at A2SM. But Google search results could soon be determined by the +1 button. Now that's kind of concerning, don't you guys think? A little bit.
No,
It's cool.
I actually did, like, I was reading it personally, and I am pleased by that because the point that they bring up is that it's to knock out the spamming. So people, like,
Hmm.
think about the articles that just throw in a bunch of tag words and just, like, randomly, just to get the money for getting the traffic to their site. the clicks.
Basic SEO, yeah.
And so this is like the plus one button is people affirming that this is a relevant site. This is a site that, so the more plus ones, then the more it's going to be. Now, it is kind of hard, though, because of obviously the corporate businesses are going to be a lot more on top than, say, the private businesses, and that might be a problem that would be run into.
But here's the problem I see with it, is that, I mean, we've already seen this, that there are companies out there in India, abroad, or even in the United States, where they're saying, pay us $300 for 3,000 plus ones, and we'll get them all unique. So they'll go across a bunch of botnets or whatever, how they have it set up, and they'll click a bunch of plus ones on your site. So I can see how it can be spammed, but I'm sure Google will come up with an algorithm to counteract frequent, like,
Well, wait a second. Does the plus one require you to be logged into Google Plus in order
Yes.
to do it?
No, you need to be. I think you have to be
so.
logged
I
into
think you
Google.
do. I think you do have to be, logged into Google in general.
Yeah,
But
not Google Plus.
already before I saw them determining it by it, when you Googled something, I already knew that over off to the right there was a plus one button because there was a site that I saw once, and I couldn't plus one it. So I was like, well, I'm going to go do the search, and I'm going to see if there's a way from there that I can plus one it. And then I saw over off to the side I could hit plus one. So it gave me an opportunity to plus one a site that didn't have it integrated. And so it would be, you have to be logged in and have to have it showing up in order
Yeah.
for it to work.
Well, that would make
Yeah.
more sense because it providing the plus one on other websites is that social proof of people doing that. But by requiring them to be logged in, I mean, it just makes sense because it just validates that this is a user. Now, I'm sure there are plenty
Yeah,
of
but
people out there who are setting up botnets or whatever
exactly.
to automatically build Google Google Plus accounts. But we'll see how it goes. The people at Google are pretty smart, and they're doing a really good job at fighting this.
Yep, and that's Go ahead.
Well, I was
Go
just
ahead.
gonna, Seth.
Sorry, there's a little bit of a lag here.
That's okay. What were you saying, Seth?
No, there's also a plus one plugin that Ashley brought up in the pre-show. That you know how on some sites you have a plus one for the whole site, and you have a plus one for each individual article. Well, what if the site doesn't have a plus one button? What do you do? What do you do if you want to plus one an article that doesn't have a plus one button? There's now a plugin for Google Chrome and probably for Firefox that puts a plus one button on your browser window, so you can plus one anything.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
But where do the results get posted to, though?
That's the interesting thing with Google Plus, the plus one button now. If you're a member of Google Plus and you're plus oneing, it usually just went into your profile under plus ones, and you had a whole list of plus ones.
If you
have that
mine is
visible.
Yeah.
But now what it lets you do, if you plus one it and you wait a second, it'll let you post to Google Plus now. I have noticed a few bugs with that, and I love how we're focusing on Neil here. Sorry, I kind of goofed up on the switching here. Pardon me on that.
I didn't know I was on camera. I would have smiled.
Exactly. Anyhow, back on me now. But the interesting thing is that sometimes it falls, the box that is deployed by the plus one button falls behind the YouTube video. So at times it's a little bit wonky.
Well, I tell you, this whole issue though with identifying people, Eric Schmidt just was it this past week?
What did he say now?
Yeah, what doesn't he say? It's funny. He wants to. At one point, I don't know if he's still pursuing this, but he was trying to launch his own little talk show.
Oh
I
God,
don't know if you
that'd
guys
be
are aware of that.
entertaining.
They actually shot a pilot, but that's beside the point. But he came out and said that Google Plus is really some. What did he call it? An identity service project?
Yeah, what the whole thing was that people were up in arms, are still up in arms about the whole pseudonym issue. I mean, that people can't have to use the real names on there, which a lot of people are saying, why don't you just use a fake real name? But and so I mean, Bradley Horowitz and Vic Condotra have been trying to figure out the right way to implement pseudonyms. But then good old Eric Schmidt, who likes to creep people out with their with the statement that he doesn't quite think things through, he says, well, too bad. We're a identity service. We're not about letting you put up a fake name. We want you to use your real name, And I mean, if you can take this to the nth degree and say, well, he wants to know what you're doing every time of day.
Well, that's kind of a little bit ridiculous. We've
Mm-hmm.
spoken in past episodes a little bit about this, that I feel that Google is on the wrong side of the argument when it comes to this whole issue. I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
technically no reason why they can't have people's pseudonyms, just have a checkbox. Put in your regular name, you put in your pseudonym or a nickname or whatever, then it should say, what do you want to be your screen name? Checkbox, issue resolved. So Madonna can be Madonna, not Madonna Chacon. If you didn't know, that's actually her. I may be
Or
mispronouncing.
she's actually Madonna period on Google Plus.
Perhaps they're trying to prevent it from being like businesses getting involved in the personal profiles. So whereas like with Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
when there were before fan pages became predominant, there were people who were creating full-on pages,
Mm-hmm.
and now then people have to sort them as though they're friends when they're not actually friends. It's a business, it's a company, or it's a
Mm-hmm.
celebrity. Whereas so they want it to be real people in your network, not
Mm-hmm. Potential
somebody.
spammers.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
understand
somebody
that.
trying to promote themselves, and that's all it is about.
Well, I understand that, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the whole reason why they are going to be coming out with the business pages. I hope soon. But as we discussed last time, and I think I had some links to a post where someone actually got into quite a bit of detail about the whole issue, and there are legitimate reasons why people might want to not have their real name up there, and it could be putting someone potentially in danger.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's an issue, you
Yeah.
know.
So, but anyway, that's Eric Schmidt shooting his mouth off again, and
Go figure, right?
yeah. But that's one more thing about I'm not Google itself, rather, but about YouTube and people who should be honored with their real names are the heroes
Yes.
of
Here,
9/11.
here.
Seth or Ashley, you want to talk a little bit about that?
I guess I'll just talk on it real fast. Google and YouTube and the New York Times have put up a page. I think it's youtube.com/September 11th. I think September is spelled out. There's a link in the show notes where pretty much they want people to share their, it's the 10th anniversary already, which is surprising
I know, I
already.
can't believe
But
it.
and they want people to share the memories of that fateful day. I'm thinking about putting one up. Well, I remember I was in psychology 101 class when I heard like the full you know, the full what happened that
Hmm.
day. And I mean, I will never forget that day. And that's something, that they want people to share this and share their experiences and really show that, some solidarity. I mean, it's not just for United States citizens. It can be people in the UK, people in Japan saying, I remember when I heard this and this is what I thought, and then they're going to feature a certain amount of them on the actual stream. So,
I was in English and then science whenever I found out about it, but besides the point, I like that. I like that there's like a social movement and it's being discussed and it's memorialized, and I like that it's done on a social network, like a social platform where people can get it out there, and just I think there some interesting things will come out of this.
Hmm.
yeah, what do you think, Neil?
No, I think it's great that they're commemorating the event. I mean, it's something that we should definitely remember, and we should definitely remember the lessons to be learned from that. I'm not referring to simply, our own security. Of course, that's a major issue, but the circumstances and the policies which gave rise to this in the first place, and dare I say, the incompetence of preventing it because of certain people and certain administrations not paying attention to what was going on. But I don't want to get
Is
Yes,
into
your
that
exactly. All
Google
right.
conversation.
actually correct over there, Neil?
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to use my one. I know we have a fan that has a drinking game going on. Every time I say moving on, he takes a sip of beer. So I'm not going to get
I,
too
I
drunk.
wasn't I wasn't trying to segue into something. I actually,
No,
those of you know me, I
I'm just
actually reserve my political comments to Facebook and other social media topics. I
yeah.
try not to be
I'm just trying to move
political
us
on mine.
along because let's leave the political arena for another
Speaking of
podcast.
filtering,
Yeah, speaking of filtering, Ashley, tell us what the next thing
Facebook plans to make its own filters.
for photos.
Yes.
That's cool.
So they're gonna. Yeah, it's really cool. They're gonna go up with They're gonna go up against Instagram a little bit. I mean, it makes sense. 'Cause, I mean, it's I think if not the biggest, it's close to the top of the biggest photo sharing sites now online. Why not add some more features so people can snazz up their poorly taken photos? Neil or Ashley?
Ashley, go ahead.
Google's already been doing it, so I mean, I'm Google fangirl all the way. So I think we heard that last podcast when I was a guest. um, uh, I don't know that it's going to be as smoothly integrated as Google has it because Google has a dedicated service for this. It's like they're just kind of attaching this on there, like, oh, we've got to match up, we've got to meet up, we've got to,
Hmm.
Google was doing like a photo company and it was doing this beforehand. Is that Facebook is doing this more as an afterthought, like, hey, we've got to kind of catch up to them. It's shoddy. It's nothing more than a facade, even if that.
Well, I think
I
it's
don't.
great. I think it's great that they're adding these services because let's be honest, photography online is one of the most popular activities on Facebook. So it makes sense that they'd want to enhance that particular product with additional features. I'm just surprised it kind of took them this long to do it, but
Because it's
Go figure.
competitive, because it's a facade for them. It means nothing to them. That's why I guess that's why it irritates me personally. It's because I don't feel that it means the same. They're just trying to do it to keep themselves in the business.
Tell us how you really feel.
yeah, don't sugarcoat it.
Don't sugarcoat one bit. So anyhow, speaking about nothing, because there's no segue for that.
Oh, I could create a
'cause-
segue.
create a
Because
segue, Neil. Give us
okay, we're talking about photography there. So here's my segue. Ready? We Seth
Ready.
insert drum roll later on in post. Um, that was horrible.
Yeah.
But with some of the pictures that I've seen on Facebook, some of them are so bad that it's just like it's like they're committing a crime posting it up there.
It is.
Oh,
It is.
God.
So
I've
so
seen it.
yeah, and I wish there was some way that I could report crimes on Facebook. Hey, hmm.
All right, that was pretty bad, Neil. But okay.
But it was
Apparently,
definitely a good attempt. I liked it.
yeah. So Ashley, what so do you think Facebook could be used to report crimes?
No, because I don't believe that it. Uh, with with all of the lying and BS that goes on in general in sociology,
Hmm.
I don't know that um, using a social network where it kind of draws sociopathic type people. Not saying I'm not saying
Present
everybody.
company excluded, of course.
I'm not saying everybody. I'm saying on social networks in general, you're gonna have those sociopathic people, and they can say or do anything and create evidence um,
That's true. It's
with
not always
anything. So
correct.
I think by inputting this, it's just opening up an opportunity for somebody to create a dramatic, tension getting little, it's just an invite to people
To abuse it.
from
Yeah.
dramatizing a situation or, yeah, exactly, to abusing a situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The main issue I'm having with it is that if you're talking about whistleblowing in a corporation, then yeah, if there was a dedicated page that you could report it to, something to, then I think that makes sense. Reporting, though, my neighbor's house is getting broken into on Facebook, I don't think that's really quite the intent of what they're doing. Although apparently, I hear that the 911 systems are starting to accept things like email and text messages and videos and things now too.
And I do
That
think it's
makes
good. I
sense.
do think it would possibly make people watch what they're posting online because I mean, how many times though?
No, it wouldn't.
How many how many times have we seen a story where the guy actually posted as their status that they were beating their child or doing something like that at this
Hmm.
moment and somebody took it as a joke? Maybe people will stop joking about that stuff and treating it so lightly, so that way, because I
Hmm.
mean that would be, I think, making it to where it's reporting crime would make that a significant drop off of people joking about such sensitive topics.
Yeah,
Because
and
if you
Hmm.
got examined for posting something like that, then it would be a lot less joked about and taken more seriously awareness wise.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially because you've got also the risk of whoever's posting something saying like, "Oh, my neighbor's house is getting broken into," or something like that. As often happens, a lot of crimes in neighborhoods happen from people who live within those neighborhoods or nearby. and they might know the person who posted that or could find them very easily, so that might put them in a little bit of danger. What would
Mm-hmm.
be really useful is if you could filter that sort of post and maybe choose
Mm.
what you see. Is that a little bit better
Now,
of a
and
segue?
That's a little bit. I was waiting for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. But the whole thing is when you have a good segue, we're not supposed to talk about the segue
It's
afterwards.
like
But
Fight
whatever.
Club, huh?
You don't talk about Fight
Yeah.
Club, yeah, exactly. Well, anyhow, there's more filtering done in Facebook now. You can now choose what you see. Filtering options could be coming to Facebook's newsfeed. So it's kind of a little bit more advanced options. Other than I don't want to see Farmville updates. You can actually kind of filter things by more specific terms.
More specific terms.
Yes, like if you want to filter people, or you only want to see certain categories in your feed, you can see them there, or certain lists in your there you can see them. So
Well, I think it's
I guess.
actually. Go ahead, Ashley. Go ahead.
Oh no, no, go ahead. You by all means.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I think it's actually a much needed enhancements, and it's just interesting how, since the launch of Google Plus, it's only been 2 months, that
mm-hmm.
Facebook has had more dramatic changes on some of their usability tools, these things like filtering, the privacy settings, and things like that, which we'll talk a little bit about in a few minutes. They've had more dramatic changes in the last 2 months than they've had in the previous year, I would like to say, and some of them were very good um, changes. So I just think it's good. It's one of the examples of how competition spurs you to be better. And as a big believer in competitiveness, I think it's a good thing.
I think so
I'm
too.
not saying anything because I think it's already clear my position on Facebook.
Exactly.
Okay.
So anyhow,
Okay.
what's your view on Facebook launching a music platform in September, which is
Rock and
tomorrow?
roll.
That
Rock and
I do
roll.
find interesting, and I'll be interested in seeing how that plays out
Even though it's on
because
even though it's on Facebook.
I look just because I'm not a fan of Facebook, which is this is so horrible. It's like so two-faced. I'm on Facebook. That's where my family is, and I haven't gotten. I'm only one person. I can't get the entire world over to Google Plus, or I would. um, but my friends and family are on Facebook. It's still my dedicated, if I want to talk to my sister about the baby shower she just had, and that's her primary social network, that's where I'm going to go talk to her about it. So I still have to deal with and tolerate Facebook. So I am glad about the updates, and I'll be interested in, seeing how it plays out. I'm just not impressed with Facebook that it cares about its customers or is trying to you know, portray itself as if it does when it didn't care until it had to, until it was, conserving its clientele.
Yeah, but I think the music service is
Yeah.
something that they've been planning for quite some time.
And that's what I'm
Well, there's
saying.
been
I'm saying
rumor.
I don't have a problem with Facebook. I have
Oh,
a
okay.
problem with the fact that they waited until, you know. So that's why I said the music. I will be interested in seeing how that goes.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But somebody did make a joke about Facebook being the new MySpace, so.
Yeah. Well, but I wonder if Facebook is faster than a speeding earthquake. I know Twitter is.
You sit
So
there and you
the,
criticize my segues. I mean, honestly, honestly.
anyhow, there's a video there's a link to a video in the show notes where a guy gets a tweet. He's singing, they're reading a paper
Well,
at
don't
work,
spoil it for them.
and
Let
he.
them go click on the video.
All right, well, look at the video,
Yeah.
and it's about how people found out about the earthquake 30 seconds before the earthquake hit them, and that's kind of the tagline that sort of saying faster than this being earthquake.
Yeah.
or
So
something
anyway,
like that. So.
for those of you who don't know, the East Coast had an extremely rare and very powerful earthquake last week, just a couple of days before we had our extremely rare and powerful
5.9.
hurricane hit us. So yeah.
5.9 in
But
category
yeah,
one.
it was interesting that it was faster than the seismic waves. So
Actually,
Yes.
Michael Mozart was on I guess, a Google Hangout
hmm
when there was somebody that he was talking to. The 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 earthquake hit them. The person left the room and came back in the room, and everybody was wondering what was going on. And then a minute later, Michael felt the earthquake.
hmm.
So yeah, it was broadcasted.
In real time on Google
Yes,
Plus.
in real
Yes, it's
time.
awesome.
Wow,
So
That's
it's pretty
pretty cool.
wild.
yeah,
I wonder how many tweets he tweeted about that day.
Well, how many
you know, I
tweets were tweeted about the earthquake, or how many tweets he tweeted?
Yeah, I wonder if he knows his limit on how many
I
tweets
don't
to
know.
tweet
Do you know
in
your
a
limit,
day.
Seth?
Not always. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. There's also another. This bad segue was brought to you by McDonald's.
Wait.
Yeah.
So you just put a product placement in there, and I don't endorse. I
Oh.
wouldn't endorse McDonald's for this particular.
That's true.
podcast.
All right. Well. All right. We'll take that out then, and we'll take that on post, right? No. Anyhow. Anyhow, apparently, people are not knowing how much they should tweet, and sometimes they go a little bit
So is this a
overboard.
political
We've all been-
limitation, or is this an actual Twitter limitation?
It's a Twitter limitation.
Okay.
It's a Twitter limitation. It's like how much twittering is too much twittering, and when should you call it
Well, I
quits?
think they
for the
did it
night?
just to keep a limit on spam. But when you think about it, it's 1,000 tweets, correct?
Yeah,
I mean,
1,000 tweets.
I think on my busiest day, I maybe made 40 tweets or something like that. So I can't imagine someone tweeting, putting out 1,000 tweets. I mean, that's just kind of abusive, don't you think?
It is abusive.
It is abusive, but
Not quite
apparently
abusive.
something was caused somebody to have to pop up and say, "Hey, you shouldn't be tweeting over 1,000 times a day." So apparently, there was a reason for it.
Yeah, apparently you have an issue if you're tweeting that many times a day. But apparently, this one person had been doing this over 8 days because apparently there's a story that whether if it's cyber stalking to tweet 8,000 times telling someone to go kill
apparently,
themselves.
This must be a good decision. So
to curb that cyber stalking. You can read that in.
Well, what's the real?
So Neil, tell us
wait a
about
second,
this.
What's the real issue here? I mean, it was the person did send about 8,000 tweets, and it's kind of a convoluted story whose details really are kind of irrelevant. But the guy was taken to court for being abusive. It was between December '09 and January of '10, so it could have been as long as several week period. But he sent 8,000 tweets, and that's okay. So it's one thing to send 8,000 tweets, but apparently his tweets are all along the lines of "Do the world a favor, go kill yourself." P.S. Have a nice day. This is actually kind of funny. You
Just
like
have a nice
haiku?
day.
Here's one for you: long limb, sharp saw, hard drop. I mean, it's 1,000 voices call out to victim number one, and she cannot shut off the silent scream. I mean, it's pretty creepy stuff. And clearly, this individual had quite a significant psychological problem, in my opinion. But
I'm
is it
pretty sure
cyber
that's more than
stalking?
just an opinion.
Yeah, but what do you think? Do you think it's stalking? I mean, all right, so someone sends out 8,000 tweets, and let's just call it a month. That's still quite heavy traffic. But what is that? I mean, do you think that's abusive, or do they?
I think it's
Well,
obsession.
clearly it's obsessive, but is it within their First Amendment rights, assuming that they're in the United States, to be allowed to do that?
Not if it's stalking.
But
Stalking's
that's not
not
necessarily
illegal.
stalking.
I mean, that would be slander. It's slander, if nothing else. Or
Well,
directly.
No,
Because
that's
it
not
makes
not
people,
slander,
it
actually.
makes people
No.
go, "What did this guy do that sent this guy just so obsessively hateful that he just wants this guy to fall off the earth and just?"
Well, I think people would.
But I don't
it's
think
not
it's
slander.
slander.
I mean, I think people would find more fault with the person tweeting the threats than wondering what the other person did to deserve such behavior. I think it would be pretty obvious where the offending party is.
Yeah,
it
it's
does
true.
leave a lot to question.
But-
I don't know if I would call it stalking as much as I would bullying, but I mean it's easily ignorable. Like it's just,
block 'em.
okay, this guy has problems. Let him whirl. You know.
But let me
Block
ask you a
'em,
question. I mean,
seriously.
okay, so someone's out there tweeting consistently hatred spewed filled tweets, okay? And now, aside from the fact that I can't imagine who would want to follow him after that anyway, but let's assume that people are still following him and he's putting these out there, and let's even assume perhaps that the person who is the target of this is maybe even blocked them, so they're not even receiving this. But at what point does it cross the line from being free speech to being something that should be shut down? Yeah,
hate
hate speech,
speech.
exactly.
It's not even about hate speech. It's about this guy needs to go to a psychologist. Honestly,
Yeah.
I have personal um, reasons for this. I have somebody who's done horrible, horrible, horrible things to me, and I don't talk about it. Like I talk about it to friends and all of that, but I don't sit there and tweet about it, and I don't obsess on it. Like
Hmm.
that's just them having psychological issues. And if the person that was doing it was talking about me, I don't know because I don't pay attention. And so it's not cyber stalking because they're not directly bringing it to them. It's easy to ignore. Cyber stalking would be like a direct, like, Facebook is cyber stalking.
In a way,
So,
in a way.
Yeah, exactly. In a
Let me
way,
ask something
yeah.
here. I've never, to my knowledge, been blocked by anybody, so I don't know. When they block, when someone blocks you, if you send a mention to them, an at mention on Twitter, now I know the person won't receive it, but does Twitter actually prevent you from sending that message in the first place?
I'm
It
not
seems to me
sure.
that they probably should. If someone has gone to the point of blocking you, and you're trying to send them a message at so and so, it
then
seems to
yeah,
me.
their name should not be in your mouth because they're not going to hear the message. They don't care.
Right, but aside, and they won't see it. That's true. But aside from that, I mean, it really seems like Twitter should be set up to prevent that particular tweet to go out. Period. If it's from a blocked person, that seems
Yeah.
like it would be more effective to stop it.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Interesting.
don't know. Interesting. But shall we move on to in other news?
Sure, why not?
Eh,
Wait. Let's ask our guest hostess, Ashley. Shall we move on?
Let's go on. Let's move on. I'll be happy to.
She'll be happy to, so we're all happy. So apparently, what we're going to talk about next is the effects of social media on undercover
Apparently.
policing. Apparently, it's in
Yeah.
the
Well,
show notes. Neil, want to
yeah. Well,
elaborate on it?
actually, this is a really interesting thing because a large number of people obviously are online and filling out profiles, and especially even more so with younger people. And the police departments have been discovering that a lot of the people who they want to send undercover have a security risk because they've been posting, they have profiles on Facebook, on Twitter, various places on social media. There are pictures of them as who they are. Obviously, they're identifying their employers as XYZ police department or so on and so forth, and they can't be sent undercover because it's a security risk not only for the operation but their own safety. So it's interesting how
Mm-hmm.
social media is causing is thwarting
Thwarting
that.
that,
Now, on the
yeah.
flip side, there are actually companies that are setting up fake social media profiles exclusively for the Defense Department, the CIA, so on and so forth, so that when you go to try to penetrate and befriend someone who you're investigating, and this was actually started to fight terrorism, because these
Mm-hmm.
terrorists rely on a lot of social proofs, obviously not online, but people knowing other people, the way the mafia does. It's like, oh yeah, I've known Johnny since he was a little kid and stuff like that. This is the type of social proof that these organizations require before you can be let in many
Mm-hmm.
cases. So there are actually companies out there who are setting up quite elaborate profiles with friends, some real, some fake, posting things to create a what's the word I'm looking for? Well, to create a facade that this particular agent can hide behind. And it's an interesting thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of
it's
neat.
one of these unintended side effects of this new social media world that we're moving into. It's really interesting story.
Mm-hmm.
We'll actually be following that because I have an interest in these sorts of topics, and we'll be discussing from time to time if you want to listen in.
So imaginary testimonials,
Exactly.
basically.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why not? You can do that very easily. So everyone probably heard the news by now, in case you live under a rock. Steve
No.
Jobs resigned earlier.
Really?
Did
Was it
he?
last
I
week or
hadn't
this
any
week?
idea.
Yeah. All right, you two, shape up.
Wait. I had
Anyhow,
to come out from under my
and
rock.
apparently social media went crazy.
I had to come out from under my
What?
rock. Sorry about that.
I'll be quiet. So apparently, Twitter, Facebook, Google Plus, were all in a frenzy about Steve Jobs, the visionary, leaving Apple. Which he is not exactly leaving. He's still in the
Well, he
payroll.
gets a
He's
dollar
still
per year. I
the
don't think
chairman
there's
of the
much
board.
of a hit on the payroll.
Yeah, but he'll probably still be someone involved. It's just his health has deteriorated that much so
Yeah.
that he has to really,
What it's
concentrate on that. It's really sad, regardless of what you think of the
no,
guy.
what I've heard
I'm not the biggest
said
fan. Yeah.
is
Go ahead,
it's
Ashley.
rumored, is there's health issues, and it seems that they don't want his health deteriorating to deteriorate the company,
Huh. Mm-hmm.
and it's a viable concern. And I don't know if taking him down to chairman though is going to change that. I think it's really going to disrupt Apple as a
Mm-hmm.
company if
Well,
something happens to Steve Jobs. Because besides that,
uh,
um, he's definitely a voice in it. And I mean, it's his vision that started all of this, that started the Apple product.
mhm.
Yeah.
Revolution.
So without his input, who knows where Apple's really going to go? That's why they keep him on as a chairman. So I mean, regardless, if something happens to him, health speaking, I think it's definitely going to affect Apple. So I don't see how. But I guess taking him down from being basically head PR, I don't know what is an Apple convention without Steve Jobs.
Right, that'll be an interesting thing. I mean, he's one of the rare few executives who are synonymous with their companies, and it's really
Mm-hmm.
going to be amazing. I read a very interesting post earlier in the week about how many different ways certain entrepreneurs have changed people's lives. So they talked about Thomas Edison, they talked about Bill Gates, people who've really had a dramatic impact on our lives. And they actually said that Steve Jobs, though, even though not everyone might want a Mac, but that Steve Jobs has actually done it more times than most of these other people. In most cases, these
Mm-hmm.
guys maybe they did one or two things if they're really lucky, and I argue a little
Mm-hmm.
bit with the methodology of the study, but they said that Steve Jobs has changed our lives in like 5 or 6 different ways, and it's going to continue to do so because these products that they still have in development. I mean, they've got multi-year roadmaps. They know what product they want to put out in 2013. 2014.
So
They're
it could
Mm-hmm.
already
be
working
said
on
that
this.
he is the tech pope, huh?
well,
Mm-hmm.
well, he is.
It's official right here. I was coined here.
Yeah.
Tech
Well,
Pope,
look,
Steve
for
Jobs.
better or worse, I mean, I personally wouldn't want to work for Steve Jobs. From what I understand, he's an
Oh, it's gonna be a
extremely
nightmare.
intense person.
Intense.
I mean, I like a challenge, but I also like, sanity. But he, you got to respect the guy. I mean, he is just such an amazing visionary. And I remember some of the products that he has come out with or tried to launch over the years that were just so ahead of their time. I mean, do you guys remember Newton, for example? The little PDA. I mean, this was
Exactly.
back in what I think it was the early '90s, and it was
Yeah, it was pre
by
Palm
like a
Pilot.
decade.
No, not by a decade. Palm Pilot was
When
not
did Palm
in the
Pilot come out?
90s, but it was like
No, it's not
93,
that
Really?
late.
94. Yeah, this
Wow.
is.
If it is,
I
I wouldn't.
Or
All right, well, we
96
can look
maybe,
that
but
up, but the
it was.
point is that that particular PDA was just so far ahead of its time. People were still just, I mean, the internet wasn't really out beyond, research institutions and the military. Very few people had a 2600 baud modem. you know,
Yeah, was it Newton him or was it Scully who did the
it was my
Newton?
understanding that it was him, and then that was one of the products. I can't remember if that was right before he came back or right before he left or got kicked out, I should say. Yeah, but
Yeah. We'll have to look this
yeah,
up and
I
report
I
think.
on
mean,
I
it
mean,
next
I think
week.
it's. Didn't he used to work for Microsoft at one point, or was it the other way around?
Jobs.
No,
Yes.
No, no, no.
no,
Jobs started Apple when he
no.
was in his late teens. I think he was like 18 or 19 with
With
Regardless,
Steve
yeah, the
Woz,
thing
with
is, he
Woz.
did that. It started off as a small company that nobody, believed in. He was, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
when for me personally, I just got turned on to to Apple and say maybe 2007, where I really got turned back on to them. And this is pre iPhone. Um, and when I came back, I used to think of it as Apple Macintosh. So I still thought of it as Macintosh.
hmm
You know,
Yeah,
it
the
was
Macintosh brand was very strong. Yeah.
Yeah, so I still thought of the gradient
That's
apple,
I.
the rainbow gradient apple.
hmm
And I mean, it's come a long, long way.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I remember when Steve Jobs announced that Apple was no longer going to be a computer company, but they were going to be basically a consumer electronics company. That was
Mm-hmm.
a very long time ago. I don't remember how long, but a long time ago. Yeah, quite a
a
few
few
years
years
ago,
ago.
and I remember thinking
Hmm.
that, what is he talking about? I mean, obviously, I wasn't privy to his plans. But, yeah,
Really?
can you believe it? He didn't share. Yeah, he
Wow.
wasn't. Who would
Who
have
would have
thunk it?
thunk?
So anyway, so that's Steve Jobs, and we wish him well. And he's quite a remarkable character, and hopefully he'll come back to Apple one day, and we'll just see what happens.
Exactly. So here's a random fact for you. People browse the most on
Hmm.
Tuesdays.
Now, what I want to know is who decided. I mean, not who, because obviously we know whoever wrote the article. I didn't look at the author,
Hmm.
but like I wonder what made them like. I wonder what day people browse the most. Like, what made that relevant to them? Maybe to know when to post a new article, or like.
Well, there have been a lot of studies done, basically just where people's minds are. Come out. For example, there's a reason why they call Wednesday Hump Day. And people come in on Mondays and they're just getting themselves ramped back up for the week. By Tuesday, a lot of them, are getting back the momentum for the week, but they're still sort of paying attention to other things. You know,
Well, I mean, I already thought of Tuesday as a more social day personally. I don't know why. It just
is that
that
your
it.
social day?
No, I don't know how to explain it. Just from working in other businesses, it was like, you know, in my, waitressing. I've been a waitress before, and as a waitress, you just know that is Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. Like there are certain days that people are more out and about. So, people browse the most on Tuesdays. It's like maybe people in general are just more active about doing things on Tuesdays as they would be a Friday. But now, for me, the real question is why? What is it about Tuesdays that
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Um, yeah,
What
and
is it about
really,
Tuesdays? That sounds like it should be a sitcom. What is it about Tuesdays?
that way, yeah, that's good.
Or
Yeah, so
Yeah.
what about Tuesdays? Starring Ashley Morton.
starring Gwyneth Paltrow and
Huh?
Yeah, exactly. So,
Queen.
but a lot of times, what they're going to be doing is when they're browsing the internet on Tuesdays, they're going to be looking at daily deal sites like
Well,
Groupon
they're
and
gonna
whatnot.
try.
But there's been, yeah, but apparently there's been a lot of downfalls in the deal world. I mean, Yelp is cutting back on its daily deals. Facebook dumped its social deals.
Mhm.
So the question is, are we approaching the end of the daily deals era?
Well, it's
Neil.
really interesting because I don't even think the era really ever started. I mean, we've got and honestly, I mean, look, we've got a bunch of companies that have put out various products. Facebook has had their deals thing. You've got companies like Groupon, which for the first half of the year was on a meteoric, actually, meteors come down, so I guess it would be a rocket ride up into the stratosphere. As far as their number of users and people using the service, they're expanding into new markets and everything, and to the point where an IPO. Now that IPO is having some problems, partially due to their internal practices, but also all of a sudden now their traffic since July has just dropped like 50%. And it just there's lots of other companies, as Seth mentioned. Yelp, which is are they online as a website, or are they just a mobile app?
No, they're
Seth?
online as a website. It's a social review. Yeah, it's a social
Yeah,
reviewing website.
right, but they started expanding their services into other things, and it really just makes sense because if you're really going to make money off of the social web, the way to do it is doing and promoting local business, because I
Hmm.
mean, it just makes sense, and there's so much potential for this, and I'm just absolutely stunned how there just seems to be this backtracking away from offering some sort of localized daily deals. And of course, they all don't have to be local, obviously, but it just seems very strange in this day and age that with all the competitiveness and everything, people running onto the next bandwagon, how all of a sudden things seem to have peaked and now they're dropping back.
Maybe it was more.
I mean,
Yeah, that's what. Maybe it just um like a pattern that just happened as it did. It peaked and then it started decreasing rapidly, and they realized that this wasn't an
well,
effective approach.
I understand what you're saying, and if you take a look at like chat roulette, for example, chat roulette popped up in the beginning of 2011 or so. became a phenomenon immediately within like a week or two of launching. The guy had over 1 million unique visitors coming to the site, but there was no extra features there. There wasn't anything thought through. There was no business plan or anything, and there was, of course, all the pornography issues and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's understandable how that was a flash in the pan. But this daily deals issue and being able to provide for a local business to be able to provide coupons and deals or whatever to their clientele, I mean, it just makes sense. So I just don't, and of
But
course, yes, good.
oh, well, I was gonna say not being, in the shoes of a business of that sort, that would be providing the coupon, you have to ask, maybe how much they were having to pay, and maybe they were less, especially with the
Sure.
economy the way it is. Maybe initially they were thinking, this would be a cost-effective way, but maybe more and more businesses weren't feeling that it was increasing their profit until more and more businesses were dropping out because it wasn't helping or it wasn't being effective.
Right.
And so, like, initially it was like,
Hmm.
jump on, let's make an investment, this looks like it's going to work, and perhaps it wasn't working, and so less and less people were willing to invest, and it saw a downward slope because of it. And then as more people dropped out, it became less prevalent, and as it became less prevalent, less and less people were willing to invest, and it dies off.
Well, I think part of what you're saying is right on, but the difference being I've worked with a lot of different e-commerce initiatives and some really big ones. For example, helped them launch the new Toys R Us website a few years ago, and people want those types of capabilities. Now, I understand, and you're right, that the business model might not necessarily be there, and that's one of the problems that Groupon has been having because of their the cost of having such a massive sales and marketing department, because you need to be able to hit people locally. So there are challenges there, and I agree with. But to see companies like Facebook all of a sudden bail after only a couple of months with a product, I mean, it was what, 4 months that had it out there. I mean, that's mind numbing. I can't believe that
Um,
they did
Mm.
that.
Maybe because it wasn't getting enough clicks. I mean, and
Well,
so because of
obviously.
less clicks, there was less sponsorship money and less reason for them to
Well,
use
yes,
them on their. Um,
yeah, I think you're right. You're definitely right about that. But I just didn't expect them to actually just totally drop it. You know what I'm saying? Morph
Yeah,
it into
it was
something
kind of
else. Let
shocking.
it
Yeah.
evolve. Try with different combinations of business models to make it run. But to completely drop it, that's what really threw me.
well, maybe Groupon drops out, and
Yes.
maybe different places like that drop out. But I don't think it's going to be the end of it. And
No,
I'm sure someone will revolutionize the market and will
absolutely.
take a look at it and tackle it. I don't think this is going to be the end of or the death of it. With everything, when something's not working, what do? Change. Some people
Hmm.
chose that change to let their business die off. Somebody, I'm sure, is going to say, "Hey, I'm not giving up. I made this commitment, and I'm gonna look at this. I'm gonna figure out a way to do it. This can work. Just what did I miss?" And they're gonna sort through, and they're gonna figure out what they missed, and they're gonna give it another go. If at first you don't succeed, try again
Hmm.
in a different way. You can't
Well,
try
maybe
again the
that'll
same
happen.
thing, but
Maybe, yeah, maybe that'll happen. I mean, you make some very good points there, and hopefully we'll see it all come back.
yeah, I
Shall I move on to the tips of the
Picks of the
week?
week? Sure.
Yeah. Neil,
Okay,
what
well,
you
as
got
I
for us, buddy?
mentioned a little bit earlier, and this is actually kind of neat, there's two Facebook-related security things. First is Facebook in collaboration with, and I'm sorry, let me read these organizations, Stop, Think, Connect, National Cybersecurity Alliance, the Anti-Phishing Working Group, Stop Think Connect is a public awareness campaign, have launched a new Facebook security page on Facebook. And if you just go to facebook.com/security, it'll get you there. You can take a quiz and to help you assess your knowledge and preparedness and how well secured you are online. But they also have a download, which we've included the link to the PDF uh, in the document, and it really kind of covers a lot of how to
Mm-hmm.
secure yourself and protect yourself on Facebook. I've just skimmed through the document. I haven't had a chance to really read it, although I've read a couple of reviews of it and from security experts, and they actually said it was pretty good. So coming from Facebook, that's quite a leap. But
that's
yes.
No, so that's exactly. It's like I'm sitting here going, "Hey, I'm impressed." You
Yeah,
know.
I mean, again, whatever their motives were behind it, it is what it is, but they are finally moving in the right direction, trying to protect people's privacy and online security. So if you have any questions, and forget if you have any questions, I'm telling you, go do it. Check out, read the PDF, do it. When it comes to security online, you cannot be secure enough. And this is not going to be my recommendation. This is going to be my instruction to you. Go check out your security. And if it's not this product and service, do it somewhere else. Make sure that you're safe online and that your loved ones are safe online, and so that we can all enjoy these
Amen.
great services that are
Well, and
out
that's
there.
what I like about it. It's more of a democracy approach, and it's getting a feed on, what people, how people are, how many people are paying attention to their security, and maybe this will give them, maybe they'll realize maybe that people do understand their security and privacy, or maybe they realize now finally how few people do, depending on where that is on the graph, and then approach it from there on their user base of who does and doesn't, and then how they can address it based on what people feel about security, and
Mm-hmm.
and um
Hmm.
and address their social site to address those issues.
Exactly.
So
Mm-hmm. Well, definitely go check out those links out in the in the picks of the week in our show notes. My pick of the week is bufferapp.com. It's something that was shown off on the social hour over on the Twit network. Essentially what it is, it's a way to schedule out your tweets, but with a little innovative twist. Essentially, it kind of analyzes your tweet stream of when the most people are interacting with you, and it schedules tweets out for
oh,
you
that's really
based on
cool.
those times.
Hmm.
So it's a really neat app. So check it out, bufferapp.com. Ashley, you have a really neat new
Yeah,
image
no,
thing
Google
for
has
us.
recently implemented an image search based on actual images. So, in my case, I've saved a lot of images that I liked, for instance, from Tumblr. And it's an image I like, and I wish I had more images like that, or I like to look at images like that. So now Google, it's like Tom Anderson cited it as a reverse phone lookup for images. You can drag and drop the image into the search bar and find out, one, where that image sourced from, if it's like popular enough. So who initially put that image out there? Where did it initially come from? And then also, where can I find more images like this? I like this image enough that I took interest in it, and saved it, or it meant something enough to me. I would like to know more about images like this. So Google implemented a feature to let you do that, and I think it'll be great for typography, or typographers in general, because you'll get a better idea. Maybe you see text that you like, and drag and drop it in there, and you'll see more text like that, and somebody somewhere will have pointed out what kind of typography that is. So I think it'll be great for
Wait,
graphic design.
it'll identify a
But
font?
I have not yet, but I'm saying, yeah, graphics.
No,
If you look at a
graphic.
graphic, if you look at several sites that you put that and it's going to identify it. There are already identifying algorithms on sites like What the Font, and there are, but I think it would be cool. Maybe you like a certain kind of text and you want to see other images with a certain kind of text. I haven't gotten to play with it enough, but I do. Um, in my instance, I actually, being a girl, I drag and drop a picture of some cupcakes that I found cute and aesthetic that I got off of Tumblr, or oh no, I got it from a friend, and it popped up lots of cute, colorful cupcakes, and cute food, and I'm not gonna lie, it's cute. I like it. It's good colors and stuff like that. Just a random interest, and I got to see several more that were like that. So
So just as long as nobody calls you
Awesome.
cupcake,
Well,
right?
that's great. Exactly. No one puts on beep.
yeah,
Don't no one
and
calls
no
for a
one
cupcake.
better.
Exactly. So, so we have email from our long lost John Cully
John, where
from
art
the
thou?
UK. He writes, yeah, exactly. Hey there,
Don't even
Neil.
don't
I
even
can do
try,
that.
dude.
Yeah. Hey there, Jody, Neil, and Seth. First, my apologies for being off the air for a few months. A combination of house remodeling projects, a hectic work schedule and turning 50
Happy
with a
birthday.
great party. And oh yes, did I mention a month in Mallorca?
Nice.
I'm having has limited my productivity. My latest productivity app is Gizmo. The latest productivity gizmo is the Live Scribe Pulse smart pen, which allows me to record written notes audio with a very cool playback feature and the ability to make written and audio flash presentations with it, which can be embedded online. So he gives us a link to livescribe.com. He likes to write his meeting notes now, and keeps it connected to the pen. So as he's writing, he can record the audio as well. So he can. And full disclosure, I have no relationship of any kind other than being a customer. Although I really think I should get signed up as an affiliate, as I have shown it to so many friends and clients. Thank you very much for your continued hard work in producing the best social podcast on the net. Oh, my pick next week. Oh, my pick of the week. Why the A2SM podcast? Of course. What else? I thought this last year was his pick of the week, but okay. Have a great weekend. It's a bank holiday here and my wedding anniversary today, so we are going to London to see a show. Best regards, London's. Happy anniversary, John. And happy bank holiday as well. And we want to hear from you guys. We want you to give us a call, write us an email just like John did. Call us at country code 1-478-A2SM118. That's country code 1-478-227-6118. You can email us at editors@a2sm.com. You can tweet us at A2SM. You can find us on YouTube with the screen name A2SM Official. You can follow us on Foursquare by going to a2sm.org/Foursquare. And you can find our longer podcasts on blip.tv/A2SM, or you can find them on A2SM.com. Neil, where can we find the wise
yes, young
old
one.
Neil?
You can find me at Neil Weiser. That's NEALWISER on Twitter and neilweiser.com. And, of course, the A2SM.org/Neil. Yeah, I was about to say
that's his Google Plus.
My Google Plus. So check me out there. Reach out. Love to chat with you, and looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Ashley, where are you at?
Yeah. Ashley, where can we find the lovely Ashley?
There's actually, I believe, attached should be a link through A2SM to my Google Plus. And that's where I'm most active.
A2SM.com, A2SM.org/Ashley, ASHLEY. Go figure that find her there. Sorry, I can't speak. You can find Jody at Sunswept, SUNSWEPT on Twitter. Webmarcom.com is her site. Webmarcom.net/blog is her blog. And I just got an update from Jody. She did break her leg and fracture her skull. And she fractured the bottom part of her skull. But she's texting me, so she's with it. But she's being transported to Jefferson University right now, hospital. Apparently, it was a little bit more than an Evel Knievel jump. But I'm going to get more updates, and I will post the updates with her permission on A2SM. So
I thought that she was just bumped up and okay.
That's what she told me.
Huh.
Seriously. So our hearts and thoughts go out to Jody. I think Neil and I will give her a call and check in on her. I will definitely we'll talk about next week what happened and whatnot. Yes, I am still there. Google Plus. Sorry, just asking if I'm still here. And of course, you can find me at SethGoldstein.net, which is my website. At Seth Goldstein on Twitter. You can find me on Google Plus at A2SM.org/Seth, and of course, you can find Jody on A2SM at Google Plus by going to A2SM.org/Jody. So Neil, take us out. And then we'll go figure out what's going on with Jody.
Social Media Podcast, where fact is sometimes stranger than fiction, and we hope that you guys are all taking care of yourselves and not trying to jump 15 buses on your motorcycles. I don't know what's up with Jody, but we'll find out about that.
I'll try to remember not to.
Ashley, it was a pleasure having you on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for pinch hitting.
You're welcome, and I had fun.
You did a good job.
Enjoyable. It is.
Awesome, great. All right, so guys, we'll see you guys next time.
Adios.
Take care.
Bye.
Ta-ta for now.